Yeah, we'll start with the SQL commands. So first, basically, what is meant by SQL? So we have to pronounce this as SQL. We have to pronounce this as a SQL, not SQL, but most probably we'll use to pronounce it as a SQL. But usually we have to call this as a, we have to pronounce this as SQL. See, the full form of SQL is Structured Query Language. Full form of SQL is a structured query language. This is a language which is used to work with the various operations with the database. Database, in a sense, is a place where we are going to be store the data. Is a place where we are going to be store the data. So if we want to store the data, if we want to perform the modifications for the data, if we want to remove the data, if we want to access the data from the database, we need a language to perform all these things, all these particular operations. That language we are going to be use SQL. The databases may be different things. The databases may be like Oracle or SQL Server, or it may be MySQL or DB2, any databases. Like we have many databases, but we are having the language which is used to perform the various operations on it. That is SQL. See, we have to pronounce it as SQL. Okay, so it is not a case sensitive language. It is not a case sensitive language. Yes, fine. Case sensitive language, no sense. Wherever we want to use the lowercase letters, there we are using capital letters also fine. It will be considered both the letters are same. And we have different types of SQL commands. SQL commands. So first we'll discuss the types of SQL commands. First one we have data definition language. Data definition language, which will be DDL. And then second one, data manipulation language. And we have DCL, data control language, DCL, and we have TCL, transaction language, transaction control language. So especially we are going to be consider these four or the different types of SQL commands. Now first we will see what is data definition language commands. For what purpose we are going to be use these particular commands, which is used for creating the structure of the table, modifying it, removing it. All these operations we are going to be performed. See, creating the structure of a table, in a sense, in the database, we are going to be store the data in the form of table, The table will be having the rows and columns. The table will be having the rows and columns. It means the data will be arranged in the form of rows and columns. Row is nothing but horizontal one, and column is nothing but vertical one. So column is having one particular category of data. So if we are saying that employee database, if we are considering the employee ID, in that particular column, all employee IDs only we have. If it is a record, in a table, if you are considering one particular employee, total information will be available in one particular row. Row is also called as a record, or it is also called as a tuple. Column is also called as a field or attribute. See, whenever we are creating the table for storing the data, in a sense, what are the columns we need for that particular table and what are its data types, how much of data it has to be stored. So everything it is going to be represented while creating the table itself. That is what we can say designing of the table will be happen. Designing of the table. Once the table is designed, then only we can able to store the data in it. Because what are the columns we required in the table, in that particular column, what type of data we have to store, what type of data we have to store, that and all we have to define. What are the restrictions we need to provide to that particular column to have a data of it. This information we have to provide while creating a table. So we have a commands like create, alter, drop. So create, alter, drop. So we'll have truncate also, that we'll see later. And here if you see DML, DDL is used for completely creating the structure of a table, modifying the structure of a table. If once we are created the table with some particular column with some particular data type, and later I would like to change the data type of that particular column. If no data is available in that particular column, or else for whatever it may be the data type we are going to be changed, if the data is matching with that particular data type, then it is going to be allow us. Otherwise, if already we have the text and if we want to convert that text column into integers, it won't allow us. It won't allow us because entirely it is going to be become as a different data type with the existing data. If already text we have, then it is going to be converted into alpha numerical, I mean text and as well as numerical data type in a sense, then it is going to be allow us to change for the existing data also, for the existing column also. That and all we will see. Practically, we will discuss everything. Removing some particular columns from a table or removing the complete table, we are going to be used the DDL commands. Entirely, the DDL commands are used to perform the operations on the particular table designing, DML, data manipulation language, which is used for storing the data into the table, used to store data into the table, modifying data, removing from a table. So even access the data from table. So if we are speaking strictly, this will comes under DRL, data retrieval language. Data retrieval language. See, that will be select. And other than that, we have the commands under DML is insert, update, delete. These are all will be comes under the data manipulation language commands. And data control language. See, suppose we have many databases. Whenever we are working for one particular project, if we have many databases, whoever working for that particular company, every employee does not have the access to each and every database available in that particular organization. Only related to our work, we are going to be get the access for that particular database. So if suppose I have joined newly to the team or else newly to that particular project, I need to access the data what we have in the database. How I can able to access it? Just we have to raise a request to the DBA team, database administrators, so that we need access for so-and-so databases, so-and-so schemas, that and all, we have to provide the information to them. Based on that, the DBA team is going to be provide the privileges for us to access that particular database. The database administrators will provide the access for us to use the particular database. We'll be having the different privileges like write privilege, read privilege, modification, like different privileges will be having, like permissions, different permissions we have. So based on our requirement in the project, the DBA team is going to be provide the access for us. For some users will be having only read access. For some users will be having only write access. Like different permissions will be given for the users of that particular database based on their usage. Based on that particular usage. For that, to grant the permissions for accessing that particular database, we have grant, and to take the privileges back what we have given to the user, revoke will be used. Just give me a minute. Yeah. See, next, what is meant by transaction? What is meant by transaction? Set of work to be done in a logical order. Set of work to be done in a logical order is called as a transaction. Why we are saying this is a set of work to be done in a logical order? Why we are not going to be say this is a set of tasks to be done? What is meant by logical order? If suppose A is transferring the amount to B through the bank, what is the set of tasks it has to be done in a logical order is, from A, the amount has to be transferred to the bank, and from bank, the amount has to be transferred to C. So that is the logical order. If suppose, if there is a possibility directly, the bank is transferring to B, or else the A has transferred the amount to B, and that is not transferred to B. So that then some person or some organization is going to be get lost there. So if the amount has been transferred from A to bank, and if it is not received to the B, so then we'll be getting lost to A, or some task is not done properly. So the function or the set of work is not done properly in a logical order. It is not done in a logical order. Any doubt as of now? If any doubt, you can ask.
Okay.
It's okay. You can continue.
Yeah. See here, for automatically everything will be committed. It means whatever it may be the transactions we are writing, or whatever it may be the commands we are writing. So it will be having auto saved, So or else we are going to be commit it. So whenever we are performing the transactions, we have to give start transaction. That is, then we can able to perform the transactions. Everything it will be saved. Commit, rollback. Commit, in a sense, whatever the task we did, it is going to be saved completely. Rollback, in a sense, till whatever it may be the operations we have done, it will go back. It is works like undo operation. Like undo. Rollback is like undo. Whatever it may be the transaction we did or task we did, if it is not saved, if we give the rollback till the previous save point, it is going to be go back. Till the previous data type will go back. Yes. So these are all the different data types we have. These are all the different data types we have. Now we will see under create. First we are going to be discuss about create. So first, creating database. Create a database. See, syntax for it. See, SQL or SQL is not a case sensitive language. So still I'm using some part of code in capital letters and some part of code in lowercase letters. That is in query. Some part I'm writing in capital letters and some part I'm writing in lowercase letters, because just for showing the variation in between the syntax and user defined thing. So create database name. Create database name. Just I would like to create one database which is named as create database. Just I would like to give my DB. This is a database name. See, this is a SQL server. This is a SQL server. So here we'll practice this queries. We'll see how we can able to create the database. See, usually we have these databases. I mean, in my database, we have all these databases. So we would like to create I'll be taking new query. So where I'm going to write the query for creating database. It's loading. Yeah. So I would like to create already my demo is there. So I can create my DB, create database. So my DB. So it is not mandatory to write like this. So I can write create database my DB. So after that, I need to execute it. So I have selected in that particular query and I have executed it. Commands completed successfully. See, command is successful, but still I'm not able to see the database MyDB what I have created. So I need to refresh it so that I can see my database here, which I have created. So this is my DB what I have created. So if you see all the predefined things we have, there is no tables available as of now what we have created into this particular database, that we will see. And after creating the database, we have to use the database. The syntax for using the database, we'll see. Use a database. Syntax. Use database. Database name. Sorry, use database name. So we can able to use the particular database directly. So I would like to use my database. Use my DB. No, it is use database. Any case of letters we can use for writing the query. Yeah. So use database directly. So use database name. So example, each and every time we no need to create the database. Once if we created the database, then we can able to use the database. Until unless it is required for us to create the new database, we no need to create the database. So here I'm in this particular database. I'm in this particular database. Now to store the tables, we are going to be create the schema first. So in one database, we can have many schemas, and within the schema, we can have many tables. Creating schema, syntax for it. So create schema name. I would like to create schema emp. Just I have created the schema. Yeah, it has been created the schema successfully. Now within the schema, we can able to create the tables. Within the schema, we can able to create the tables. See, for creating the table, first we'll see what is the syntax. For creating the schema, what is the syntax, we'll see. After creating schema, if we want to create a table in it, creating table. Syntax. See, create create table name, column 1, data type, and size we have to mention here. And if it need constraint, we have to use a constraint. So what is meant by constraint? What is data type? We'll discuss. Data type is nothing but what type of data we have to store in it. What type of data we have to store in it. And constraint is to provide the restrictions to store the data in it, the particular column. So like this, any number of columns we can able to create. Suppose column n, data type, size, constraint. So this is a syntax for creating the table. So what are the different data types we have that we will discuss? What are the different data types we have that we will discuss? See, so briefly we'll discuss what are the different data types we have here. First, for storing the integer values or numeric data types, if we want to store, we'll see that data types which will be represents what type of data we have to store in the particular table. Numeric data types. Numeric data type. See, here we have int, small int, big int, decimal, numeric. Decimal numeric is used for storing the decimal value, and whose capacity is for decimal its size is 5 to 17 bytes, and for numeric also it is 5 to 17 bytes, where it is going to be stored decimal values in a sense with a dot, with a digit. And if it is a int, small int, big int, which is used for storing the integer values without having any decimal. For big int we have the capacity as 8 bytes, and int we have 4 bytes, and small int we have 2 bytes. So the size here 4 bytes. For small int it is 2 bytes. For big int 8 bytes. And for decimal it will be 5 to 17 bytes. And even for numeric also it is 5 to 17 bytes. So we want to store the different types of data. Wherever it is required, then we are going to be create that particular data type with a particular column, that we will discuss with the example. And even we have decimal numeric is used for storing integers also, and especially for storing the decimal values we have here float, real. Float is used for storing 7 digit till 7 digit, and real is used for storing till 14 digit. And for storing the text or string data types, will be having char, varchar. So first I would like to give the difference between char and varchar. Char is used for storing only alphabets. Char is used for storing only alphabets. Varchar is used for storing alphanumerical values. And one more most important difference between char and varchar is char is considered as a fixed length character string. Varchar is a variable length data. Variable length data in a sense. See here automatically it is going to be adjust with the size. Whatever it may be the size we are providing for char and varchar, it is fixed with that size. If we are trying to store more than that particular size, it is not going to be allowed. But if it is a char, suppose we have reserved the space for storing 50 characters. If we are using by chance only 25 characters, remaining 25 character space will not be used for some other purpose internally. If it is a varchar, if we are giving the size as 50, suppose 25 characters we have used in it, and the rest of the 25 character space will be used for some other purpose internally. So because of that only we are going to be say this is variable length string. It is fixed length string used to store only alphabets. It is variable length used to store alpha numerical values. So maximum capacity here in SQL Server, maximum capacity we have in SQL Server as 8,000 characters. 8,000 characters. So here also 8,000 characters. 8,000 characters. See,